Welcome to Skits and Quibbles, where we showcase our hottest new talent and we find out what makes them tick. I'm Judith Crosier, and you may know me from our sister show, Mental Health Matters. And today I'm really thrilled to be presenting this episode of Skits and Quibbles. Before I introduce our lovely guests for today, I thought I'd ask, what are you reading? I love reading. It's a really great way to get inspired, to kind of boost creativity and to escape for a little while. And that's why I've always loved it ever since a child. Just escaping into a book has been one of the best things to do. I wondered what you were all reading, and if you want to put in the comments what you're reading at the moment and why. This is the book that I'm reading at the moment. It's a bit of a venture for me. I tend to stick to fiction because I find that a real escape. I just kind of disappear into the world that the author creates. So I picked up this book recently. It's on our bookshelf at home. It's by Freddie Flintoff. It's called The Book of Fred, and it's published by Bonnier Books. And it's an autobiography of Andrew Freddie Flintoff, who was a really great England cricketer. He's still around, still plays cricket, does TV presenting now. But on television, whether he's playing cricket or kind of outside of that, he's shown as a real alpha male and someone who clowns around, maybe drinks a bit too much, lives a bit of the high life, parties quite a lot, quite hard. But actually reading this, it's given me a real different view of him. He has a real ability to reflect on his life, on his thoughts, and it's been really interesting to read that side of him, really. So sometimes in the press we're given an image of somebody, and this has really changed my image of him, which has really been great. So hopefully you're warmed up and you're ready to meet our guests. We have the composer Charlotte Botterill and performer Kesia Decote. And before I sit down with them and have a chat with them, Kesia is going to be playing two of Charlotte's pieces. The first one is called Loss, and the second one is Sun Shines and Birds Sing. Welcome, Charlotte and Kesia, to Skits and Quibbles. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here. And I obviously know quite a lot. I'm friends with Charlotte. First time of meeting Kesia, it's a pleasure. So please tell us your musical journey so far. Share with our viewers.
Do you want to go first?
Yes, okay. So really nice to be here. So I am from Brazil. So my studies in piano started in Brazil. And I did all the classical training, starting practicing the piano when I was a child, and then going to conservatoire, and then did university, so with the degrees. And then I came to the UK to do a master's in contemporary arts and music, because then I got fascinated with the possibility of exploring other ways to share my music. And then I did a PhD also here in the UK. And then I got more and more involved with contemporary music, so collaborating with living composers. And this is what I do mostly nowadays, so giving concerts and playing music of today.
Fantastic, thank you. That's you've done a lot of things in your your journey to be here now. Yeah. Thank you very much. And Charlotte, how did you start and find yourself where you are now?
So I've always played piano because my family is just like everyone's a musician or related to music somehow. I kind of took a long way round to get here, I guess you could say. When I left school, I didn't know that I wanted to do what I wanted to do, basically. I knew I liked music, but I didn't know what I wanted to do within music or how to go into it or anything. So I just worked in retail for a couple of years until I got bored, essentially, and decided I really wanted to know how to compose like orchestral works. So I went to university. I went to Brunel University to study composition. And then once I graduated from that, again, I didn't necessarily see myself as going down a route of like being a composer as a job. I still didn't really understand that's like a job that you can do.
Yeah.
Unless it's sort of like film composing or songwriting or something like that. And neither of those were things that I really wanted to do. They weren't the kind of composing work that sort of like spoke to me. So I just started as a piano teacher. And then I was doing a lot of freelance music transcription work as well on the side of that. And it wasn't until I joined the Abbey Gateway Orchestra, which Judith also plays in, so we know each other, and was encouraged by the conductor there to write something for the orchestra, that I sort of got back into composing again, as properly, rather than just sort of doing it for a bit of fun in my spare time. And then after that, I entered the Trinity College London Young Composers Competition. They were looking for piano pieces to set for their various different grades of their syllabus. And I entered a piece which won the grade 7 category. And then I thought, oh, wow, okay, maybe I can do this then, because this was like an international call, and my piece got chosen. So I was like,
that's amazing.
Okay. So from there, that was 2019. So from 2020 onwards, then I started trying to just direct my musical energy back into a bit more of a sort of focused composing kind of path. So I've written a lot of piano music since then, and this year I've been working on the Adopt a Music Creator project, which is run by Making Music. I've been working with a barbershop choir this year, so that's been quite fun.
Yeah, something
a bit different
for you and for them.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I didn't know it was. I didn't have any idea that it was our conductor.
Oh yeah, it's basically Martin's fault.
Oh, amazing! That's really great. I didn't know. Oh, thank you for that, because I didn't know about all of that either. So that's really interesting. So we've heard your first two pieces, Loss and Sunshines and Birds Sing, beautifully played by Kesia and beautifully written as well. They're particularly kind of important and poignant to you. How did you come to write them?
So I wrote these as sort of lockdown had kind of started, the COVID lockdown in 2020. I'm not someone who's very good at staying at home. So when everything was locked down for the first time, it was quite a big shock, because I think I was only ever at home like a few hours each day. So to go from that to sort of, being at home all the time, that was quite a big it was quite a big shock, and it was, you know, you've kind of...
It was hard.
It was. It feels like you've lost your... Well, I kind of felt like I've lost everything that I do in my life, everything that I enjoy. I socialise quite a lot, I see friends. So I was finding that quite difficult to have to, like, come to terms with. I didn't know, like, who I could talk to about it, because most of my friends, like a lot of my sort of close friends around, they're also quite home bunnies. They're quite happy to just stay at home and, you know, play computer games or watch Netflix or whatever. And I seemed to be the only person who was just like, oh my God, tearing my hair out with like, what am I going to do with myself? So I kind of started composing. I composed Lost just because I didn't know how to communicate how I was feeling. So it all just sort of, I kind of went, I'm just going to sit at the piano and play. And then it all came out. And I thought, okay, this kind of says how I feel right now. So that's that one. And then the second one was a few days later. I think it was the same week, but later on in the week. We had the first like nice bit of weather. And I went out for a walk, and I managed to get into the countryside and go for a walk. And it was just so lovely. And like hearing the birds sing, and you know, it's spring and all the buds are starting to come out and things. And it just lifted my mood so much. And I thought, it's incredible like how much a bit of sunshine and like, you know, some nature and everything and a walk can just sort of really improve your mood and everything. So it's just, I think they're a really nice balance to each other.
That's just what came across, the balance, the sort of the loss of your freedom and your life as you knew it, and then kind of balance with the promise of, you know, nature, as you say.
Yeah, wow. It's like trying to find something good to focus on, you know. You can find the sort of little beautiful things here and there, no matter how bad a situation is.
And what a lovely way to express it through music as well. Thank you. I know that you play piano as well as write, obviously. So I wonder how the partnership with Kesia came about.
I'll let you take this one.
Yes, so it was like during that period, I was also at home, like, but I was in Brazil during the time of lockdown. And then I was living on my own, like, and then I think, like many people, we started becoming even more creative, like, so confining those like four walls. And then I started developing lots of ideas, and then communication through the internet. And then I asked on the old Twitter suggestions for piano miniatures, so pieces for piano who were very short, you know, kind of 1 minute or a little bit more than 1 minute. And then Charlotte replied, and then I think you had just written Lost, and then sent to me, and I thought, wow, that's really, it's a piano miniature, and it speaks of today, exactly, and like, despite we are like in different countries, we are living this experience together. So I recorded, because I was recording like many people, so I recorded, made a video, and then we started talking, and then later in the and then Charlotte, you carry on writing the miniatures, and then you had the idea of recording the CD, and then and then invited me to record the collection.
Fantastic. So it's just a chance kind of meeting on the internet that then grew and grew. And, where you are now.
Basically, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. So, Kesia, what brought you to playing piano? Do you play other instruments?
So it was my mom who brought me to the piano. So she always loved music, and she was very like enchanted by the piano since she was a little girl, but her family couldn't afford to give her piano lessons. So when she had her kids, she made sure to put me and my brothers to play an instrument. Because
she didn't have that opportunity.
Exactly.
Oh,
yes. Wow. But not really like imposing. It was kind of part of education. You have to go to school, and you also have to learn an instrument. But then my brothers decided not to go through like the music path, but like I got into it, like, and I'm still here nowadays. And then my musical world was always the piano. But then some years ago, I found the toy piano, which is a piano, but it's not really a piano. So it's a toy. So you're gonna think, okay, like you play the piano. Not really, because like the sound is produced differently. So the timbre is very different, and the mechanism, so the technique is different because it's a toy, and it has its own repertoire, you know. And it's like so it's great fun. It's a kind of like a small brother of the piano.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
And so, do you play that and record with it?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay,
And give
wow.
concerts. So yeah, there's a
So
whole.
it has a completely different sound, as you say.
Yeah.
Sort of sounds like
Amazing.
bells.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So maybe like an old-fashioned piano, like in, you know.
No, it's
No?
more like a sort of metallic percussion instrument
kind of
or
a
something.
xylophone.
Oh,
yeah.
More
Yeah.
into that family of
Like
sounds.
glockenspiel
interesting.
metallophone, something like that.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
I love it. I'll have to find some of your
Yeah.
recordings.
Yes.
That sounds really
Yeah.
interesting. Thank you. So, to both of you, to start with Charlotte, who's your musical inspirations?
This was an interesting one to think about because I think they change as you grow, and like
Yes,
mine
yeah,
have definitely
they do.
changed as they grow. When I was a teenager, it was all about Queen and Freddie Mercury, and I think that's the only reason I'm here now, is because that's what got me back into music as a teenager, and like the piano specifically, because I was like, oh look, the piano's in a band. Okay, it's cool. It's not just like
He
it's
made
not just
it
like
so
Mozart.
cool, didn't
Yeah.
he, Freddie Mercury?
So and then when I was studying. I was a big fan of like the sort of impressionist kind of movement. I still do love them. I still love like Debussy and Ravel and Satie. Satie is like I like his eccentricism, if that's a word, eccentricity. So those are probably my sort of big musical influences, like the historic ones. My dad was always into jazz, so we've always grown up listening to jazz. So there's a lot of that in there as well, and like soul and all this sort of thing. And now I really enjoy listening to the contemporary music that exists today, because there's so many wonderful composers doing really interesting music today. Anyone who like blends sorts of different music and stuff. And something I've really enjoyed from the last few years is exploring female composers who've been like underrepresented from the history and things. So I love Amy Beach. Her music is just always really, really pretty, and it's just so expressive. It's very visual, I think. And Florence Price, because she writes incredible stuff. So yeah.
I'll have to check those out.
Yeah.
Gosh, so lots of different influences.
Yeah.
I could definitely hear some jazz influences coming through as well.
Yeah.
So I wondered if that was something from your
Yeah,
childhood.
it's just sort of a bit of everything goes in there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, thank you. And Kesia, who are your influences?
Wow, yeah, like so many. And Charlotte said, like, keep changing. But I think as a pianist, kind of growing up, like in the piano world, of course, always like I come back to the big pianists of the 20th century, the classical pianists. So Horowitz and Martha Argerich is always kind of reference to listen to them and just like lets the soul to soak all that beauty that they like. They're magicians of the piano.
Wow.
Yeah. And also I have like some really fascination by some Brazilian musicians. So Egberto Gismonti, he's just like a big reference and he's really incredible. And singer Elis Regina, who many people say that she's kind of the greatest Brazilian singer of all times. Her records are just like so full of life. I think she just like lets everything, and I just remember it's interesting because like you hear like her records and it's just like everything is in there. But then like when you read her biography, I think like gosh, like she really left everything in the music because like her life was full of traumas, a very complicated life. But she left a beautiful legacy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I'm
and
going to have to look her up as well, I think.
definitely yes. And nowadays I get very inspiration from like very creative colleagues. So the pianist Zina Pestova Bennett, she's a great friend and also an inspiration. She's so creative in her practice. And there's a pianist also from Portugal, Joana Gama. I always look what she's doing because like she blends piano with theater and always does something very creative. So yeah. Gosh,
again, a lot, but sort of quite rooted in piano player, pianist as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of influences for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So we're going to hear Summer Rain. Can you tell me about this piece, Charlotte?
So this one, again, it's from the collection which I wrote during lockdown.
Yes.
And on one of my walks, because that's the only thing you're allowed to do, was go for a walk for an hour. And it was that we did have good weather. We were lucky, weren't we?
We were very lucky, yes.
So yeah, walking around, and when you can just feel the storm hanging in the air, and you know it's about to rain at any second, and you know there's about to be a downpour, and it's just sort of like trying to time it. You get those first couple of spots of rain, and then you have that really intense like downpour, and then you get that lovely freshness afterwards, you know, the smell of rain and everything.
Yes.
And this kind of thing. So yeah, that's what this one is inspired by.
Oh gosh, thank you. So let's enjoy Summer Rain. Welcome back to Skits and Quibbles, where we have Charlotte and Kesia. That was absolutely beautiful, and you know you could really sense the raindrops in that. Kesia, what does that piece mean to you? Why is it meaningful?
Oh, it's a very special piece. So during the pandemic, I was living in Brasilia, so it's like the capital of Brazil, and I was living by myself in a very tiny apartment. So I had just moved to the city because I had got a temporary job at the university there.
Okay.
So I got the job, then I moved to the city just temporarily, and then the pandemic starts, lockdown. So I was there in that situation. And also Brasilia, being like in the middle of Brazil, has a kind of semi-desert climate.
Okay.
And then during the dry season, it just doesn't rain for like 3-4 months at all. And then I was like in an apartment by myself, and then during the dry season, and then in September, I still remember in September, after like 4 months of like dryness, complete dryness, I heard thunders and there was lightning.
Oh wow!
And then the rain came, and it was like just like lush and kind of abundant. And I was like, and then it was just like life, hope, everything together.
Wow. Did you rush outside and stand under it?
Actually not, because we were still like in the lockdown mode, but I rushed to the piano and I improvised with the rain. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And then and I know that Charlotte wrote that piece a little bit early in the year, but for me it still like speaks so much.
That's what it means to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's really powerful image.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gosh, thank you very much. And we've, both of you kind of touched on the mental health aspects of music. But what are the benefits that you get from music? I'll start with Charlotte.
I think for me, it's just a vehicle to sort of get things out. Do you know what I mean? I kind of use it to sort of process anything which is happening in my life, anything difficult, happy things as well, but I feel like you don't really need to process them quite so much. You can enjoy them. It's a way to enjoy the happy things.
Yes, just go with those.
But anything that's sort of difficult or painful, you don't really know how to deal with or how to express. Music is my sort of vehicle for sort of expressing that and working through that.
Yeah, really important that there is a vehicle for everyone, really, and this is yours. Thank you. Is that a similar reason for you to play as well?
Yes, but for me, I think the music, especially the piano, but like music in general, is kind of home. so it's where I'm centered.
Okay.
So like it seems that like when the world is crumbling, and it could be like the outside world, like unfortunately, or the internal world, when it's like doesn't make sense. So then I go to the piano, or like I put a recording, and then I listen, and I'm back home. Feel like it was this feeling of like here.
It's your safe place and where you feel.
Yes, yeah. And also, like, I think, like, for playing an instrument and singing, there's also the physical aspect that, like, I think the body feels good.
Yes.
You know, like, it's not a workout, but, like, it can be seen. I think there are some chemicals that are released when we are engaged in making music, so the action thing. Yeah. So I think this combination, like that, like, maybe science can explain, but also emotionally, this feeling of home.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So staying with the kind of feeling that you get from playing music, is there a particular genre of music that you like to play, or a particular style that you like to play?
Nowadays I like to play contemporary classical music, so collaborate with like composers, what they write now, and then getting to chart and making this new life, like this new music to come to life. Also I like to do free improvisations, just to sit on the piano and see what happens. This is what I most enjoy.
Brilliant, and that's why you got such a good partnership, because of the contemporary music that Charlotte loves to write and is so good at as well. Charlotte, what would your advice be to somebody who would like to write music but is struggling to start?
Just start.
There you go.
I think something that we all do is we all kind of worry about what we're writing has to be the best thing ever. It's got to be a masterpiece, or this kind of thing, which actually it's not true. And I think everybody who writes a lot will tell you, just write something every day, write a little bit every day. It helps you to get into that creative habit. You have to try and get over this whole thing of like, this must be the best thing ever. It's really difficult, because I feel the same, so I understand. But also, if you kind of look back through like big historic composers that are sort of still celebrated today, like, you know, Bach, for example, he had to write something for church every week, and so everything each one of these pieces aren't going to be a masterpiece. They might be very, very nice, we might enjoy them, but, you know, they're not like an amazing masterpiece. So that's what I would say to them. Just try and get into the habit. Just do a little bit, even if it's like 4 bars or something. Set yourself a goal, a target. Do a little bit every day, and then you'll start to, I think, engage with it more, and then you can see how you want to change things, how you're going to improve things, and your writing will get better just because you're doing it all the time. It's like an instrument, you have to practice it.
Yeah, you do. That's really great advice, and not everything you have to write, that you write, has to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a good takeaway. Thank you for that. And similarly, if somebody wants to start learning an instrument, particularly an adult, you know, what would your advice be to them if they're worried about not being able to pick it up or not being able to practice?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same attitude that Charlotte mentioned, like, just do it. And then, like, you know, it's like difficult to, you have to practice, but like, just like 10 minutes every day, already will get like you started and getting like familiar with the instruments and the things that you have to learn. But like constantly, kind of every day, just 10 minutes, even if not like a year, but like it's something, and not worry about not being good enough. Just do it, just play, and because there is always be room for improvement. Even like the greatest of all times, they always like, that wasn't good enough. Like, and then just do without judgments, without like trying to compare to other people.
Yeah, that's an important point. Don't compare yourself to others. I think is an important thing.
Yeah, really.
And have like someone you trust to give you feedback, because don't ask the internet for feedback, because you'll get lots of unkind responses. Have someone who sort of is trustworthy and kind and reliable and can give you useful critique and not horrible insults. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Social media is not the best place to get real advice. Really good advice from both of you. Thank you very much. We're going to hear a piece called Missing Friends now. What was the... I mean, obviously it was written in lockdown as well, so but can you tell us how meaningful it is to you?
So this one is more about like human connection than anything else, because I find I don't get the same connection personally from just doing things through a screen. So you can have all the Zoom calls, you can have all your like FaceTime calls or whatever. It's not the same as sitting in a room with your friends and actually having a conversation together over a coffee or a pint or whatever, and having a hug.
Okay. Yeah. That was something I think that we all like dreadfully missed that whole time. So it's a very poignant piece. So let's listen to Missing Friends. Welcome back to Skits and Quibbles with Charlotte and Kesia. Thank you. That was as beautiful as the others. They're all really lovely pieces.
Thank you.
And it was
Kesia's playing.
So that's why.
Charlotte's right.
They're beautifully written. And yeah, that was a gorgeous piece. And it's what it made me think of at the end was like a question mark. When am I going to see my friends again? I don't know if that was your intention, but that's kind of what it made me feel. It was really lovely. Thank you. So talking about working in the music industry, obviously you're both in different ways. What have been some of the highs and what have been some of the lows? Should we start with
highs? Highs, I think, are always when you find a really good partnership. So like finding Kesia, that's amazing because you've got you've got two like-minded people. We understand each other and like you work well together. This kind of thing, it's rare to find. I think like a really good musical partnership. So that sort of thing is a high. And whenever you get a really good performance of a piece of music, or you get accepted onto a scheme or a project, you get something, get a commission or something. Those are always good highs as well. Yeah, lows, absolutely. All the rejections, but never mind. You learn to be thick-skinned to them.
I suppose so. Yeah, you have to go through a number of that before you get somewhere. Thank you. And Kesia?
For me, I start with the lows. I think the lows, in my experience so far, relates to instability, so financial instability. So there's something that like freelance musicians like we have to deal with. But like there are strategies, there's like perseverance, like discipline. So we can make through, but it's kind of a tough part of the job. And the highs, definitely people. Yeah, people. Yes. So of course, it's nice to to play in a nice hall. It's nice to travel and play. But I think like the people that music brings to us, that's like the best.
Oh, that's really lovely.
When the audience has really enjoyed a performance, and then they tell you, that's always really nice as well.
Do you get that kind of rush when you're performing on stage? Do you is that a really good feeling for you?
Yes, definitely. It's kind of full of adrenaline. Like before, it's kind of this anxiety, as if like you're going.
Do you get nervous?
Yes,
okay,
yes. But then and then you go, and then it's still during it's kind of being in the moments. And then the after, when you have the chance to talk to the audience and sing that was a very special moment for so many people. That's really, really amazing. And it's a really beautiful feeling.
I can see it in your face. It really lit up. It's amazing. And Charlotte, what's it like as well to hear Kesia playing your pieces and other people if other people have too?
It's amazing. I can't tell you when you walk into a room and you just hear somebody playing something you've written, it's to be like, oh. And to have Kesia bring the music to life is just wonderful because she plays so beautifully and
she really does.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
it's great. Music's beautiful. It's easy.
Thanks.
They're both amazing. What advice do you wish that somebody had given you when you were both starting out? I don't know who wants to start.
Yeah, I can say.
Yeah.
I think a good advice would be like, don't be so harsh on yourself.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I think for like when you're in the music, I don't know, I had like a classical music training, so I don't know if like someone who starts in a more popular is more relaxed, but like we can go through very harsh environments, or like getting to perfection, and then you get harsh on yourself, and then that brought me lots of anxieties, and comparing to like to each other, comparing to recording, comparing to that friend who plays that piece better, like through some like criteria, like, so that's something like, do not be so harsh on yourself and don't compare yourself to other people. I think that's
really good advice.
That would make
so that's
such
advice.
A difference.
Yes, and you give that to other people. Thank you.
I think I have to agree with that, actually. I don't think I can think of any better advice, because I think the like comparing yourself can be really can really stop you from progressing, can't it? Because you just sort of think, oh, well, I'm just not good enough, why should I try? But so I think that's probably the best advice. And that you will just, well, this isn't really advice, is it? But it's more just kind of like when someone to tell you that you will just work all the time, basically. You know the saying of like, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Yeah, it's not true. You'll just constantly work, constantly work. But you'll enjoy it. So, yeah.
Well, that's it. It's work, but you
it's
enjoy
work
it.
that you enjoy it, but you are constantly working.
That's really good advice as well, because I think some people might think that musicians, you do a day here and there, and that's it. But I know from knowing you that it's not like that. So, really great advice. So being in the music industry, it's not like a 9-to-5 job. How do you balance that with your personal lives? You've got a family. I know that you travel a lot. So how do you balance the two?
Well, I think I don't at the moment, which is something I definitely need to work on. But I think the nature of the work is often it will come in comes in like weird fits and then like nothing. So if I have a time where I have like a huge amount of work on, I do find it quite difficult to try and like find time to see friends or socialise or that sort of thing, because I'm just sort of like doing the the teaching, which is the paid work, and then you're doing the composing, which is the sort of slightly less well paid work, but you still have a deadline for it anyway.
Yes.
So yeah, usually I kind of go through a few months or so of just like intense work. And then I realise, I can't do this, and I have to come up for air, and you have to see your friends. You have to find a day to like try and find someone, go out and just have a like mental refresher, and then go back into it again. But then once it's done, the deadline's met, then I'll find I've got something every single weekend I'm seeing, catching up with people like, I haven't seen you for about a year, let's catch up, this sort of thing, which is where I am at the moment. I've just finished my sort of like big barbershop thing that took about sort of 9 months, I think, start to finish. Where it was very, very sort of intense work-wise. And now every weekend I'm just seeing loads of friends, which is really nice. But yeah, I haven't quite got the balance right yet. So
it'll come.
Yeah.
It'll come. But I'm used to you saying, oh yeah, I can see you in, January next year. And I know that's because it's intense. But that will hopefully start to balance out.
Yeah. I think now that I don't teach on Saturdays, it will be a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
Yeah, because I used to work 6 days a week and then do extra composing on the weekends and things. So kind of 7 days. I taught 6 days a week and had still other work. And now that I teach only 5 days a week, I think it was. I think it will balance out a bit better now. Yeah.
Yes, it will. Give you a bit of breathing space.
Yeah.
And Kesia, you've got a family, and how does that work? Because I know that you travel all over the world.
The balance is something I'm still looking for the balance. Especially having a young child, so she's only 2, so it requires lots of attention.
Of course.
But I do try to get that's ideally, but I try to every day have do something that really it's important for my day. For example, I do 5 minutes of yoga every day.
Okay.
But that's what I can do. I think it's better than nothing, but it's every day 5 minutes. And I try to play the piano. It's a job, but also, as I said, it's my home. So I still cannot go back to those long hours of practice, but even if it's 15 minutes, I was we're done. And so my daughter, she goes to nursery, so I have a few hours for work, and then I try to, when I pick her up, so that's time for her, Yeah, so I try, even if I have like pile of work like to do, it's like, no, that's the time that I have for her. And then after she goes to bed, I like to spend at least kind of half an hour with my husband, just chilling, watch something on TV, just to like unwind. And then weekends, sometimes I have work to do, also have like workshops to run, but as much as I can, I try to have the weekends for them, like for family and for friends.
Yeah.
But again, this kind of ideally, of course, like there are like weeks that things just like bump into each other.
Of course.
Yeah, so.
But it's interesting because Charlotte, I feel like your life is in chunks like this. And then I feel like Kesia, your day is, you know, you've got little pockets set aside.
Yeah.
So you do it really differently.
This is the better way to do it. It's definitely the better way to do it.
I just think it's just different. It's just interesting how you both work. I love that. Thank you. So it's been brilliant to talk to you. And where can we find out more about both of you?
Well, I've got a website, which is just charlottebotterill.com. And you can listen to other works, other music and things on there, and sort of news about what I'm doing and what's going on is on there too. If you liked any of the pieces which Kesia played, they're available on Spotify, Bandcamp, Amazon Music thing, that's the thing, isn't it? Apple Music, all those sort of streaming platforms and things. And if you really, really liked them, we made a CD which is available on Bandcamp, and each one comes with a limited edition piece of artwork which my sister did. So it was a really nice little creative lockdown project that we all sort of did together. So yeah.
Well, thank you.
And for me, you can find me on my website, kesiadecote.com. And also social media, Kesia Decote. You can find me over there, and then you're going to see recordings and then dates for next concerts and projects.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So the last song that you're playing us out to is called The Fragility of Hope. Can you tell us the meaning behind the composition of this one, Charlotte?
So this one was the last of the little like lockdown miniatures I wrote, and it was in a response to the announcement that the lockdown restrictions were going to be sort of eased and relaxed. You know, you could start going to shops and restaurants, I think, and things like that again. So there was that sort of like sense in the media of like, oh, everything's going to go back to normal now. But those of us who work in the arts, you know, nothing had changed for the arts. You still can go to concerts, the theatres are all still closed, all these sorts of things. So it was a bit like, is it though? Is it? And, you know, you don't want to feel too hopeful about it. And then also it was, you know, summer was coming, and then, you know, it's all going to happen again in winter, because if you look ahead to that, you're like, it might be fine now, but we're all just going to be locked down again in winter. So I don't know. That was my sort of like, I'm not that hopeful kind of moment.
Yeah, I can see why. But it's a beautiful piece. So let's listen to The Fragility of Hope.
Everything. Sorry, can I start again? Sorry, that's the good one.